the people right across the street, one of the dogs had died. We started getting this horrible smell. She's like, so we thought we didn't bury the dog deep enough. So if they smell it, he really can smell it. I don't know why he didn't just get rid of the body. The only thing I can think of was a trophy of sorts for him.
Do you think the family is as quiet as they are because they knew who David was?
I mean, yes, I have proof that family members have been to that rental house before. I've been with David and Celeste. There's evidence that he met her, interacting with her in like a creepy way when she was 12.
So do you think David had help?
I think he had help. I think there's gonna be other people that go down. I think there's gonna be financial transactions that come out in this that are, if this goes to trial, they're gonna show that there were people that were getting money, and it's gonna look really, really bad.
All right, what's good, YouTube? Today, I am joined here by Steve Fisher. He's a private investigator, and more importantly, he is also the one that has been working this David case day in, day out. I'm gonna let him introduce himself and his involvement with the case, but Mr. Fisher, I really do appreciate you coming on my show today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, call me Steve. I appreciate, having me and what you do. Yeah, I'm a missing persons private investigator. I only do missing persons cases, and I'm also very involved in search and rescue. I got involved in the case with Celeste, the owner of the house that David was staying at, and Celeste had visited him and whatnot, got in contact with me, and because he didn't rent the house to David, he rented it to his management.
The house was rented out through his manager, but David was the primary person staying there?
Well, the owner of the house, or the owners, the husband and wife, had no idea who David was. The lease says it's for the exclusive use of Josh Marshall, his manager. So they had no idea that they didn't know, first of all, they didn't know who the singer David was, and they live out of state, and they didn't know that somebody else was living there. So this, all of a sudden, their house is involved in a search warrant, and all this, this tragic event happens to this teen losing her life, and they wanted to understand, what had happened, because LAPD wouldn't give them any answers, and so that's kind of how I got involved.
Celeste's family never got in touch with you to find her before. The only reason why you got involved was because the owners of the house had cops coming through their house, investigating stuff, and they just didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, no, I've never been in touch with her family. I've tried. I didn't want to push them hard, though, so I haven't really followed up more. But yeah, so the owners were very, it's never had anything to do with value of the house or loss of value or anything. It's had to do with, they wanted to understand what happened there, because they have kids around that age, and they wanted to know if, on even a spiritual level, if they could go back in that house. It was really hard for them to fathom, if it happened there, or even in fact, even if it didn't happen there, just the fact that it's tied to it. They have some real decisions to make, and they're from out of the country, and so they don't really understand the laws and everything. So they said, listen, we want to find out what happened. They wanted to know what the truth was, and they wanted to make sure that Celeste, got justice if she needed to get justice. Because remember, at that time too, they're telling us there might not be any crime here beyond concealment of a body, which was never true. I don't know why LAPD came out and said that, but they were making it sound like this might have been like an overdose or something, and they made a bad decision. There was nothing like that. It was never anything like that. This was a guy who's a predator. I don't know why it took this long to get where we're at. I'm glad there's finally appears justice is coming, and it doesn't seem like there was this real urge. It wasn't like maybe the
a sense of urgency.
Yes, exactly.
The house that David was renting at, that the owners hired you, Celeste has been to that house, correct?
She has, yeah.
Was that the house that they're presuming that all of this went down at?
It's the house that, when they say, she was lured to, I'll tell you this, we don't know exactly where it happened. But we're trying to figure that out, and we're also trying to find out where, the murder weapons may be. And not only the murder weapon, but also the dismemberment tools that were used.
After all of this started coming out, was David still tied to that house?
No, so as far as we know, the way it happened was David was on tour when this news broke, even of the car being, LAPD initially being called to the tow yard because of a foul smell and flies circling the car. He was on tour, and so it came out that, hey, there's been a body found in a car that's registered to David. They had no idea, the public had no idea that it was Celeste. People in his Discord had a good idea who it was, though. He continued on with his tour. It wasn't until they identified her as Celeste, was a documented missing person out of Lake Elsinore, which is like 80 miles away from LA, that they finally called the tour off. But he just kept plugging away. He never made a comment about it. The only comment they made was his press people said that they were cooperating with LAPD, which they never were, which we come to find out they never were. That was a lie. They just wanted to keep going. And it did keep going. And then when they did call it off, he's never made a comment, and he was never seen in public again. He was in West Hollywood, very close to
Did he go back to the house that the manager had rented, or did he go somewhere else?
So what happened was, after she was identified, they served a search warrant. LAPD served a search warrant on the house the next day. I believe it was September 17th. His management contacted the owner and basically said they were breaking the lease. You know, they were going to have the movers come the next day, which they did, and they came and they grabbed certain things, but they left a lot behind. And they basically then said, you know, anything that's left behind, just do what you want with. We're out. He's never seen again. Now we find out that he was in another rental house just a few miles away.
Like, what a lot of people are kind of confused with, and I was hoping that you could kind of break down better for us, is the car was reported to be a couple blocks away from his house. That house, it was it the house that the owners that you work with had? Okay, so
whenever I say the house, I'm talking about my client's house,
Yes,
which
sir.
is some people call the mansion or whatever. It's the only house that we were aware of at the time that he was living in. Now there is a house before the lease started, which he did that famous live stream from, the delete everything. When it's Celeste in that one. That was actually filmed.
So
in
was
a
that
house.
Celeste? So a lot of people
Yeah.
say that was the other Celeste in that. So that live stream, that was Celeste in that live stream where
The
they
one
said
where she talks about R-ing kids, and he says delete everything. That's Celeste.
Do you know
No,
when that stream had happened?
gosh, if I remember right, that was like January of 24. That was right before she ran away the first time.
Okay.
Might have the date off by a little bit. And then right after that is when she starts running away. And she has these series of runaway events. But it was no secret that she was with him. In fact, somebody close to the situation, her family, the school where she was going, wrote his management by email and said, you know, paraphrasing it, there's a rumor that David might be involved in the disappearance of 13-year-old, Celeste Rivas Hernandez. If that's true, please make sure she gets home quickly. And she got home. She arrived the next day. And that email was received by his management company, and they did send it to him. I have proof of that. He was aware of it. So then she arrives back home, but then she runs away again. He was grooming her. He's a predator. This is not the only girl he was involved with that was underage. When Celeste ran away on Valentine's Day, she showed up in the area. Oh, this is the exact same day that they're actually taking possession of the new house that they rented, my client's house.
Yes, sir.
Of course, my client doesn't. My client thinks it's Josh Marshall, his manager, but they take possession of it. So on that day, he's got Celeste runs away that day, and she's at the old house, the one where they did that live stream, delete everything, and he's got another minor at the new house, a mile and a half away, and I've got pictures of that. So, that can be.
This is kind of all new about there being like a new minor. If you can reveal, how old was this other minor that David was dealing with?
She was 16 and 17.
She was 16.
This was going on for a while. I believe it goes back to when she was 16, 17 for sure. But he knew, she was underage, and listen, it's kind of the same MO. It's kind of the preying on those that he can manipulate out of their environment. And there's others. There's another one too. So I mean, and I guarantee that there's. I mean, I can't guarantee, but
no, I mean any predator. They're always gonna have multiple victims. Yes.
There's ones that I don't know about.
Yeah.
When I was in court yesterday, when I happened to be looking right at David, he was seated kind of in front of me, and they brought him in an orange jumpsuit, and they sat him down at the table with his lawyers, and they handcuffed him to the table. I didn't know what was coming out of the prosecutor, and I happened to be looking at him because I was like, man, he looks so different. He does not look like, David, the artist. He looks he just doesn't look the same. And so I was looking at him, and then they were talking about um, when discovery, which is all the evidence and stuff, is going to be delivered to his lawyers, and
Yes, sir.
prosecutor comes out, and I don't know, I don't want to get you dinged off of
No, no,
YouTube
no. It's
channels.
literally say like
Oh,
you
you
can.
can say that. Okay. So she comes out and says, Your Honor, one of the biggest issues is that there on his phone there was a voluminous amount of child porn. Proper word now is CSAM, right?
Yeah.
But she went child porn, and then she goes, and because of this child porn, I mean, she said child porn 4 times in a row. It was very intentional. You had to let him know. We know. He just stared straight ahead. He wasn't like he didn't turn to his lawyer and like, what the hell? He just he knew like I think he knows that they got him dead to rights right now. So, but she made it sound like there's a lot on there. So I don't think it's just Celeste. I don't think it's just Celeste and this other minor that I'm talking about. I think that there's going to be a lot that he actually was in communication with, and I think there's going to be probably a lot of that material that he sought out on the internet.
Back to the timeline. So I didn't know this. So it was January 2025 when that live stream
No,
happened, or
well,
2024.
she'd been gone well over a year when this was going down. I believe that live stream was 2024, January 2024. Then she starts. Then in February, is when and then there's Runaways, and then getting into around Valentine's Day, she runs away again, and then it's a year. It's well over a year that she's gone before we now know that this happened, according to prosecutors, in April of 2025. So she's gone a very long time. And that's been the whole thing is piecing this together. Where exactly was she? Because we didn't really have evidence that we had evidence that she had been to the house, but not that she was like living at the house. And David would travel a lot for concerts or whatever, and nobody was staying there. So we're like, where was she in all this time? And then we find out that she wasn't truly a runaway. That's the part that's upsetting to me too, is that her family knew where she was, and she'd shown up for like her cousin's high school graduation. She showed up at a family event. There's a video out there of her arguing with the next door neighbors in the apartment complex next to her house, all while she's supposedly a missing person. And so it's all very frustrating. There's a lot of things, a lot of failures around her. And I understand she's probably a handful. I get that. But the thing is, she's a kid. That's part of being a parent. She needed direction, she needed like a direction in life. And it's not okay. They knew who he was. And it's just, I don't care how rich he is. I don't care how famous he's becoming. I don't care he's living in a mansion and he can afford to support her. It's not okay. She's
Yeah.
13, 14 years old at this time. It's never okay.
What I found interesting about this case is you would think a lot of people close to him would be coming out saying things like, hey, this was weird and stuff like that. But you really haven't been seeing that. The prosecutors are saying that they've gotten people to cooperate. They said they have some people that are more difficult. Do you personally think, or do you know, like, actually, that people knew her age and just didn't say anything about it?
100%. Listen, in that Discord of his, there's people that openly talk about it. They're like, hey, are you still going out with the underage girl? Are you still there talking about Epstein Island? Are you and Celeste going to Epstein Island? Like, it's crazy how open it was, not a secret. And the people close to him in his orbit, listen, they knew. I mean, there's live streams where not just the one with Celeste, but there's ones where he's talking to these two super young girls on like I don't know what platform it was, but he's talking to them, and his friend Asia Collins is behind him, and he's laughing about the age of these girls, and he's gooning, and it's really frustrating because they have not they didn't race forward with information. They waited to the last minute to save themselves. Like all of a sudden, we find out one of his friend Neo has to be arrested to be brought in front of the grand jury. That's not how it should be. Like you shouldn't be. I don't care how close you were with this guy. If you got information, we're talking about a child. I mean, there's evidence that he met her, was interacting with her in like a creepy way when she was 12.
You posted something I think that is great on your feed where you showed a timeline that
Yeah.
you believe what happened, because the prosecutors said, correct me if I'm mistaken, they believe that the murder happened April 23rd, 2025, right?
Yep.
Can you explain to us why you think they think that was the day she was murdered? And can you explain the timeline of from that day until September 8th when her body was found? Do you think that he left her in the Tesla the whole time? Do you think her body was stored somewhere else and he just kept on moving the car? Why do you think he didn't try to dispose of the body? If you can, could you give us that whole timeline and everything? Because I think
Sure.
that was like the best thing anyone's ever put out, where it's like something we could visually see.
Yeah, and a lot of this I'm just never going to understand, right? Even like what was going on in his mind. But so there's two dates that they put out there. April 23rd, they believe is the day she was lured to the house, and then some point shortly after killed with a sharp object, they're saying. And then May 8th, is it the 5th, or they have to look at the timeline to be honest with you, is when they're saying she was dismembered. You got this gap in time where did he store her? Because you're going on a week and a half, and that's the point of building that timeline. The timeline only focuses on this time period between the April 23rd and and May when he dismembers her. And what we're trying to do is just find out what his movement was for one in that time period, and also kind of what his mental state, at least public facing, was. And we've started to compile then we learned, well, April 23rd is when they announced Wither Tour is happening. He had just gotten done with Coachella a couple days earlier. He's at Coachella, and then they announced the Wither Tour is or the Withered album is dropping. And so on the 24th, they have so we're talking just hours after he would have killed her. They have a album release party here in LA. On the 25th, he heads out to New York for a 3-day band lab pop up in New York City, and then he goes to Houston, to his hometown in Houston,
Wait, he's
and
from
plays.
Houston?
He's from Houston, yeah.
Wow, I'm from Houston. I'm here, right? I didn't even know that.
So then he goes to Houston for a couple of days, and so he's moving on. Like I'm talking, he has a. If prosecutors are correct about the 23rd being the day, and I believe they are because there's somebody that obviously gave them the information, then within hours he's fine. He's in a mindset where he's like, I'm ready to go to the party. I'm ready to go to New York. It's not affecting him. Now we do see it's kind of like this, almost like an adrenaline rush. There's all these posts and he's playing these shows and these pop-ups, but then there's like this crash. He goes somewhat a lot more silent, after the dismemberment. And he goes to Seoul, Korea for pop-up, and he's in Malaysia. It's really wild to see that. So yeah, so to get back to your point, so there's the murder and the dismemberment, and that. So our big questions are: where did he murder her? Where did he then store her for those 10 days or so until he dismembered her, 10 days or more? And then why does she end up in the Tesla? And why does she stay in the Tesla in his neighborhood? When I started interviewing with, before we knew all these data points, I was interviewing obviously neighbors asking for video surveillance and whatnot. And, the people right across the street, directly across the street, and this is a neighborhood with very large houses and big yards and security systems and everything like that. And I was over at the house directly across the street, which is owned by a producer, and I was dealing with his estate manager. And she said, one of the dogs, so the property, it's a big property, and their fence line butts up to the road. David would often mostly time park the Tesla on their property line, off to the side of the road. So it butted up to their yard. And she said, we started getting this horrible smell, and we had one of the dogs had died. And they had buried the dog in the backyard, and it was like a husky, it was a larger dog. And she's like, anytime it would get over to be like 75, 76, 77 degrees, the backyard would smell horrible. She's like, so we thought we didn't bury the dog deep enough. So they were getting ready to unearth this dog and bury it deeper. And then all this happened, and the Tesla went away, and then everything was fine. But
So
that dog died.
When the Tesla got moved, did that smell go away, and was the dog
Yes.
still buried?
And, yes, and they're not thinking like, oh, the Tesla just went away and now it doesn't smell. They don't know, they're like, why it comes and goes. And it's not until after they find out, oh, there's a body in the trunk of the Tesla. It's like, oh my God, the Tesla was, and they have it on surveillance, of the Tesla coming and going. So at times, so if they smell it, then He really can smell it, especially at the house because it's like a multi-story house, and there's live streams that he does where a makeup artist is like, oh, this what's that smell, and
And
they just kind of like
when was these live streams like dated around?
he live streamed from the house a lot, and so it was just like him and his friends, and they're I don't know they're filming something or whatever. There's a makeup
And
artist doing a thing.
this is the same house that.
Same house,
So there was
but the
streams
Tesla's
where the
parked out
makeup
front.
artist would complain about a smell from the house.
Yeah, and so what it is most likely is it's coming from the Tesla and just going up through the windows up in the third floor, and they're up in the master bedroom's bathroom when this happens, and he blames it. Oh, I went to the bathroom, but the whole thing is so wild. Like, if you dismember somebody, I know you never have. I'm just saying, but if somebody dismembers somebody, you think they go ahead and just get rid of them, right? Like if they didn't do it at the house, if they did it somewhere, and I think they did do it somewhere else, I think he had to have refrigerated her
When
somewhere.
you said they, so do you think David had help?
I think he had help. I don't think he can do it by himself. I'm not saying in the murder itself, but I do think in the dismemberment or at least the moving around. I think he had help. So, and I think people are going to fall for that. I think there's going to be other people that go down. I don't know why he didn't just get rid of the body. And that'll always be. I don't think he'll ever say why he did it, and I don't think it'll ever come to that. But I think that the only thing I can think of is was a trophy of sorts for him. And I don't because listen, it's not that hard to go. You can drive 5 miles from that house and you'd be on Pacific Coast Highway and just let that Tesla go off into the ocean. Off a cliff, or have somebody steal it and get rid of it, whatever. Have it gone forever. He kept it. He kept it in the neighborhood. I mean, he was moving it around when he dismembered her. He started. People had reported to us that they noticed that it started being parked in different locations starting in May. He's keeping it close by, and then he goes on tour and just leaves it there. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking. Like, there's got to be some sort of. It's got to be some sort of trophy thing because there's plenty of opportunities to get rid of that car.
With it being a Tesla, like what I'm thinking they
Yeah.
can do is they could probably. What do you? I don't know if you know this information, but was the Tesla dead when it got towed to the tow yard?
Yeah, so I don't know for certain. I think it was though, and it appeared that Sentry mode was probably turned off because it doesn't appear that they got any meaningful data from the car itself as far as the cameras or anything like that. Because otherwise, it would have been an immediate arrest. I do think because of the length of time, the car was most likely probably bricked, but I can't say for sure. I don't think that there was a key with it. I think they had a force entry, and I don't know. I actually it was going up for auction. He had never picked it up. LAPD processed it. They only kept it 2 days. They put it back in the impound yard, and I was watching it, and it was racking up daily fees, and then it had gotten to be like 3 months, and they finally put it up for auction, and it was supposed to go to auction like 8:30 in the morning, and a month or two, about 6 weeks ago or something, and I was going to go inspect it because they have an open inspection, and then at like 10 o'clock at night, it switched where somebody had come and uh, with a power of attorney signed by him and a cashier's check and paid to get it out, and then they went to DMV immediately and put it into somebody else's name.
So
And
wait,
then
somebody from his team bought the car.
I don't know who this. I don't know if it's his team. It's obviously somebody he knows in some way, or his lawyers do, or his management does, because he gave him a signed power of attorney in order to get it out of the impound yard, paid for it, and then they took it. And then I ran across it about 2 weeks ago. I ran across it outside of a Tesla body shop in South LA, and it's sitting out there. It's been washed, but it's. I don't know what's going on. That whole thing's so weird and creepy. I don't get it.
I think that's what a lot of the people are like. Because I was talking to a dude yesterday where he thinks David was framed, and his whole thing was how could David be that stupid to leave the body in the car when the car is to his name and everything. But it's like the dude, something Wayne, the clown killer, when he would kill
Yeah,
people, he would put them right underneath his house.
yeah,
And or Jeffrey Dahmer, he would put people right in his fridge. And so it's just like when people kill people, you can't ration, because I hit him with that same logic. What rational man who's a multimillionaire can have almost any girl he wants of age would go
yep,
after a little girl? And he couldn't answer that.
exactly. It's like it's just not enough for them, I guess, in their sick, twisted, mindset. And listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. As an investigator, I'm very much an Occam's razor type of guy. I'm like the simplest explanation usually is the way these things go. But I'll tell you, it's hard to get around the fact that his lyrics and everything. I can understand a couple songs, like okay, like these are things you sing about that are, whatever. It seems very, very like this was his world. This like his lyrics talking about, like I have text messages he sent to the girls of dismembered, anime stuff, but it's dismemberment. He was into dismemberment. It's just,
So he was
it's
sending
really.
the other minors he was talking to. He was sending dismembered animes to them.
I'm not in the anime world, so if I say the terms wrong or whatever, forgive me. But it was these anime characters with their arms pulled off, and you could see like they would show the like dismembered arm, like detached. It's just crazy sick stuff, and this is before this all happened, obviously. But now looking back, you're going, wow, this is the consume this guy. This was like this was his thing. This was his kink or whatever. I don't. This guy had, man, he had everything. Like if he went to, like I don't, like he was a young guy. Listen, he's talented. You can't say he's not a talented singer, right? And he had the world and he just overwhelmed him somehow. Like this became more important. I don't understand like what it was he was trying to get out of life or whatever. Like this is what the kind of people like never get a shot like this, right? Like people that have that kind of talent, so many of them are just never even, you never even know they're out there because they never get the shot. And this guy gets the shot, and what does he do? He takes the life of a little girl who didn't get to take her shot yet. You know what I mean? And never will get to. And who knows what she could have been? Who cares if she was anything? If she became anything, but she's a human being, and he treated her like he owned her, like she was his. And then when he wasn't happy with whatever, or he felt that she was going to harm his career, he didn't just kill her, but he cut her apart.
Can you explain to us why they charged him with killing a witness? So, are
Yeah.
they saying that she was a witness because she was wanting to come forward? Or was there already an ongoing investigation before that she was a part of, and with her being killed, they could charge him with that?
So it's kind of both. She can be her own a witness to a crime against her, and now she's not here to be able to do that, to be given that opportunity. So it's killing a witness. However, several months ago, when they did that live stream with Celeste, that delete everything, we knew that it was at this other house, which is also on the same street. It's called Doheny, but it's in a different part of Doheny. It's by coincidence on the same street. So that house where that happened, I actually that's under the jurisdiction of the West Hollywood Sheriff's Department. And so I went to West Hollywood Sheriff and I said, "Hey, can I get any investigative files that have to do with a runaway or harboring or any type of event at that house for the time periods of 2023 to 2025?" And they came back and said, "We do have investigative files that involves a minor, but they're under seal because of an ongoing investigation, and you need to contact the Riverside County Sheriff's Department for more details because they're the investigative lead on it." Now, that's the agency out in Lake Elsinore. So that's the agency, and we had heard that they had actually picked her up once out there at that house. So I do think, and I'm positive that they interviewed David. They talked to David, and they didn't do anything about it, but they talked to him. But I do think that there was some sort of investigation going on
And this is
because
before she was murdered.
this is before she was murdered, and so that was ongoing. And then all of a sudden this happens. Now, it doesn't mean that there was this like they were going like, listen, she ran away again. She was in his company a lot of the time, so they weren't investigating it thoroughly. But the fact is, there was an open investigation, so she was a witness to that, and I'm sure they'd gotten a statement from her like, "Hey, what were you doing there? Why were you with? How'd you meet him? Whatever." So she's a witness. So he killed a witness, and it doesn't mean that there was charges filed yet, but she was a witness in an investigation. So, and not only that, but she can also be a witness. She's now no longer able to be a witness into the investigation into what's happening now because he killed her.
So, with that continuous sexual abuse is
Yeah.
charge that he got, Is that only for Celeste, or would they also be doing that for the minors that you're in contact with that he was talking to?
We don't know. I can tell. I can say that I'm pretty confident it does not involve the minor that I'm in talks with, just because I know what her communication with law enforcement has been and the DA's office, and it's been very, very minimal. If they were going to charge him with her, I think there would be more communication, like, okay, are you sure you're willing to testify, or should we do this by written statement, or whatever it may be? And so I can't answer your question. I have a feeling it's just going to be for Celeste for now, but I don't know. Like, listen, there's two things that I think are important. It's all important what came out at the hearing the other day, but two things to really keep an eye on is one, the wiretap,
Yeah.
because although states can do wiretaps, it's usually a federal thing because it's people talking across state lines, and that includes images being sent and whatnot. And then also the CCM material. Usually the feds get involved with that, so I would not be surprised to all of a sudden see a federal charges come down on him too in short term.
So what would the
Where
federal charge be that they could get him on?
possession of child, because they didn't charge him with like possession of child pornography, and distribution and stuff like that. And those would be just a stack on top,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't hold any. They wouldn't. The one's gonna have the longest sentence obviously will be the death penalty eligible case of murder, but it needs to be done because we need to make it known that this just can't happen. I mean, it's crazy that this is still these guys are still going after these kids. These are kids. Let them live. Let them live their life. Let them go and play with other 13-year-olds and do stupid kid shit that makes you what you are. Like, you know what I mean? They should not be making adult decisions of like, am I going to be going over and having sex with him tonight? Am I going to be going to a party, to a record release party? No, go play on the swings and shit. Like, let them do. I mean, we just can't like. We need to clobber these guys, and these. It happens to boys too. I mean, these predators. We need to eliminate them. That's what we need to do,
Yeah.
And
No. Yeah.
yeah, and I just saw something go by too. I can't really read it as fast, but something about the parents. Listen, I agree. I agree. The parents need to be held accountable
I was
in
just about
this.
to ask that because one thing about the parents is, usually they don't always have to say something. You know what I mean? The family has to grieve, but I feel like this is one of those cases where the only like statement I know that's out there is that the mother just said that she had a boyfriend named David. That's like the only statement from the
Yeah,
family that I've ever heard that is verified from them. So my question
yeah.
was gonna be like, do you think the family is as quiet as they are because they knew who David was and they knew who she was going to, and you
Yep.
don't really see too much of an intervention between them?
I mean, yes, I have proof that family members have been to that rental house before. Have been with David and Celeste.
Wait, her
Older,
family has
her
been to his
family
house?
family members. Like I have, listen, one of the first things I put down in this case was a build. We know that David and Celeste were at Six Flags on a certain date, and we found a Build-A-Bear certificate from the Build-A-Bear place in Six Flags in her cousin's name at the house. And so it's like, wait a minute. So she wasn't really missing. The missing, you want to know, in my opinion, what the missing persons report was about? It was to cover their ass so CPS didn't come in and say, "Hey, she's not going to school. What's up?" If she's a missing person, you say she's not going to the school because she's a missing person. Then you don't have CPS in your life at that moment. And I listen. I sympathize. I guarantee. I know that they're grieving. I know they lost a daughter, but goddamn, like you could. She shouldn't have been allowed to be. She was gone a year and a half, man. She like a year and a half. Like somebody should have said, maybe we shouldn't be letting Celeste live her own life like this. I don't care how much money he has, how famous he has. Maybe in some cultures they don't think that's that huge of an age gap. I don't care that these are the laws that you've agreed to live under, and she's 14. She was not 15 like it says on her death certificate. She turned 15 the day before she was found in the Tesla. She'd been in that Tesla a long time. She was 13 and 14 years old when this was happening, and she should have been in school. She should have been, playing video games with her friends and being listen. She'd only been a teenager for less than a year I mean, think about that. I mean, it was her first year when this started happening. Her first year being a teenager. This isn't a girl that was, about to turn 18. Um,
So could you
it's just
see?
there needs
Could
to be
you?
accountability.
Well, what would the charge? Could you see potential charges being pressed on the parents?
I think it's too high profile of a case, right? So they're going to say, "Oh shit, if we do that, we're going to have a certain amount of the people that are going to be like, I don't care if what they did is wrong. They, you got to give them some space because they're a grieving family, and they are, but they've also got to be like, hey, we messed up. We messed up. And listen, there is, I think there's going to be financial transactions that come out in this that are, if this goes to trial, they're going to show that there were people that were getting money, and it's going to look really, really bad.
So, oh my gosh, man, I did not, because I was under the impression that they might have known that she was with him, but there wasn't anything. But you have verifiable evidence to show that. And when you say family members, you don't have to disclose who, but are these adult family members that would have a say in her life?
Yeah. Now, like the one, and her name's already been put out there. It says Esmeralda is a cousin who was a senior in high school. But I'm not so much blaming her. But the thing is that Esmeralda's parents, who would be her aunt and stuff like that, knew. Listen, I have other proof I can't disclose, but yes, there was adults. There was several people in her family that knew. Listen, her mom admitted she knew she was dating a guy named David, and she said, "Oh, I didn't really." She knew who it was. I mean, he would come out there and pick her up, in the Tesla, and they knew she'd been found there, before. Police knew that she was with him at some point before that because listen, the person that sent the email to his management saying, you know, word is that she's with David. If that's true, please make sure she comes home. She's 13 years old. They only knew to send that to his manager because it was no secret in Lake Elsinore where she lived that she was with David, the singer.
That
And
email, is that an email that you can't release out there just yet?
no, I have released it. It's out there.
Could you send me that email so I can show my
Sure.
audience? Because I have not heard anybody report on an email being sent. So just for you guys that don't understand, what Mr. Fisher is saying is that
Steve, with Steve.
my bad, Steve. So was it the school or was it who was it that sent the email to the
So
manager?
I can't disclose who sent it. I've
Okay.
disclosed the email with the person's name redacted from it, and I'm looking for it here. I don't know if I have it on this case file or not, but what it says is an email sent to David at mogul.vision. Mogul Vision is his his manager's name, Josh Marshall, has a company called Mogul Vision, and so it was sent to David at mogul.vision, which is the email address. And it just said something, paraphrasing, rumor is that Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who's 13 years old, maybe with the singer David. If this is true, please make sure she gets home safely. Her family misses her. Something that's very close to what it said. And she showed her up the next morning. So they got it. And I know David got it. I know for a fact. Again, I can't say why without disclosing, because then he would kind of be able to figure it out, and the person's worried about it. But it was sent to David from his management company, and they're like, "Hey, yo, so you know." And he then forwarded it to some people. But that was sent by a concerned person in the Lake Elsinore community that knew, it's one of those communities where people know each other, and especially around her school. It was not a teacher, but I will say it's somebody connected to the school. And
Okay, I think
yeah,
is this the email right here? I'm gonna share my screen. So you posted this on your Twitter, correct?
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna share
Yes,
my.
that's it. And they included a picture of the missing persons flyer in it as well.
So
Mhm.
this is the email that was sent to
That's
David's
February
management.
19th of 2024. I mean, this is how long
She was
this is.
13 at this time.
Yes, and the thing is that like people knew she was with David. This is back in 2024. This is a year before, more than a year before we would even have You know what I mean? Because it wasn't until September of 2025 that she's found. So all the way back in February of 2024, they're like, Lake Elsinore people know she's with David.
So my question now is, because in this email it says there's been talk that the artist David possibly has something to do with the disappearance of 13-year-old Celeste Rivas. If that statement holds any merit, please do the right thing and take her home. Her parents are very worried. Now my question is this person is not a family member related to Celeste, right?
No, she's not.
So if this random person, well, they may have been close or whatever, but whoever this person was, they knew to send this email to this manager. Why didn't Celeste's parents reach out as well?
It's a good question. That's something we'd like answers to. It's hard to at the beginning we asked the same questions to ourselves, like, okay, why wouldn't the parents do them? And we think, okay, well maybe this is when ICE raids are really ramping up, right? And we're like, okay, maybe there's like a documentation issue, but that's not the case. And we find out, well, okay, so that's not the case. So what is it then? And then things start coming out about there's photos of meetings in Lake Elsinore with David with a paper bag apparently full of money.
Have you ever posted the photo of that on Twitter?
I think I have. If not, if you just search David, bag of money in Lake Elsinore or something like that, it'll come up. It's a pretty well known picture now. He's in a parking lot.
Yeah. So do you know when that picture was dated?
I don't remember the exact date. But this is during the time when she's, when she's missing. So, that's it right there. Yep.
So do you know who these people are right here?
I do. I can't say who because they're minors too. I do.
Is it any relation to Celeste?
They're not related. I'll tell you, there are people now that are definitely fighting for Celeste though.
The people fighting for Celeste. Oh.
Yeah.
So, and this is him in.
This is Lake Elsinore, where she lived and went to school. This is like 3 blocks from her house. Keep in mind, Lake Elsinore is about 75 or 80 miles from the house where David lives, so it's not like just around the corner. So he's out there for a reason.
I was gonna say, so, oh man, like the main focus needs to be on, because Celeste isn't here anymore, so she needs justice for her family. But I know you don't want to say it, but I don't care. I'll take the bullet. I see this as a lot of people in her life failed her, where a lot of this could have been prevented before it got to this point.
Her death could have been prevented.
You can say that this is victim blaming and stuff like that. Well, no, this is just accountability. This is a child, and a child needs to have some kind of guidance to keep people away from bad people. It doesn't matter how much money someone has, status, or anything like that. And so because this is a lot of new information that I feel like mainstream media isn't like talking about there being 2 different houses. So Celeste went to 2 different houses, and one of those houses there was a case report about her. Where was it a missing persons case report, or was it a different type of case report?
Yeah, it stemmed from a missing persons case. So West Hollywood had apparently been asked to do like a welfare check or look for Celeste when she was missing at this house, and so they had an open report about it. I don't have the exact details. I can't get it because they've shut me off from it. But what they did tell me was there's an open investigation. So I think that's one of the that's one of the ways they can say that she was murdered as a witness. But it doesn't even have to be that. It can be to her own case. But it all just shows just by the dates of like that email that was sent and stuff. This has been going on a very long time, and he wasn't worried. You know what I mean? Like he kept having her come back, and he wasn't worried about it. So I think there's a reason why we haven't seen a lot of statements, and like you said, it's about accountability, right? And I don't care if she was a handful. Maybe she was. And if parents get to the point where they don't know what to do anymore, they can't just let them be like, okay, just go live whatever life you want to live. He's rich. What could go wrong? That he's famous. That you can't, like, there's, as much as I hate the CPS system, there are systems in place by the state. You gotta go. You can't just make a decision that they can. Well, she's 13. I guess she's got this. You can't do that, right? And so there's got to be accountability. I understand they. I'm sure they're grieving. I'm sure they feel a tremendous amount of guilt, but this can also be a learning experience, maybe for other parents, that this could never be right. And it's never right for these predators to, like, because they seek these are the people they seek out. You know what I mean? Like, David had his choice of a lot of different girls, and there's a reason he chose this underage one that probably had a lot of things going on in her life that she probably disclosed to David. She's a victim, and he just picked her off because she was easy to do.
Did Celeste have a father in her life, or was it just her mother?
Yeah, her father's still alive. I don't know, to the extent that I don't know what type of relationship that was. I don't know what the relationship was between her and her mother even. I've heard different accounts. So I don't know. I don't think the family life was spectacular by any means, and but she's the little kid that deserved, to be watched over and guided and helped and loved. And I'm not saying they didn't love her, but a year and a half she was gone before she was found deceased. Like, and she was 13 and 14. Like, can't wrap my head around how that.
When you say a year and a half, like, that's because I feel like a lot of people think like, oh, a year and a half, like they had no Was that year and a half really a year and a half of her missing, or was that
Well,
just a year and a half of her just not sleeping at home?
okay, so I mean, that's a very good point. And what we come to find out is it really wasn't a year and a half of her being truly missing, because she showed up at a couple of these events, like her cousin's high school graduation. But we know now that she most likely was killed on or very close to April 23rd. The time frame from April 23rd to September 8th, when she's found in the trunk, is a long period of time that you think people would have been like banging down David's door, being like, "Hey, we have not heard from her, not even like a hello or anything. What's going on? How come she hasn't checked in? How come she hasn't sent a text to her brother or her sister or to her cousins?" And nothing. That's a long period of time, but I don't know. I don't know if anybody was banging down his door. When the news came out that a body had been found in his Tesla, I don't know why people weren't at police station saying, "My daughter knows that guy, and I haven't seen my daughter or heard from my daughter in a very long time."
I don't know how much you know, but did the parents go to the police station, or did the police have to go to the parents?
TMZ actually, TMZ had somebody, guy online that kind of figured it out in the Discord, and then he started like threatening people. It was a weird sequence of events, but what it comes down to is he went to LAPD, and then he went to TMZ. And TMZ called the mom and was like, "Hey, does your daughter have this certain tattoo?" Because the medical examiner had put out to the public that she had a tattoo that said "shh," and then they kind of put together. But the thing is that that was news. Like, this was big news in LA, right? This young girl, unidentified still, had been found in David, the singer's Tesla. They knew, they knew, they knew it was gonna be her.
And
The Discord was talking about it.
was this David's Discord, or was it just random?
David's.
I guess to wind it down, is there any, two questions? Have there been evidence that you found that the police didn't have that has aided further into this investigation, where it sent it into a different route? And also, is there a piece of evidence that you either have found yourself or you know about, to where you can definitively say without a shadow of doubt that he was the one who murdered her?
And so, to take your last question first, there's nothing like a video of something happening or even a body being taken out that I've seen, right? Of a totality of a lot of different evidence, I am certain that they have the right guy. I don't think they have all the guys or girls. I don't think that they have them all. but I think they have the main one, and I hope that there's going to be more. But I do think this is going to be a circumstantial based case. I think this is going to not be based so much on the actual physical evidence they have as is going to be on people rolling over on David. Finally, to answer your first question, yeah. So there was some evidence. I don't know if LAPD. We kind of put their feet to the fire on it. We found a burn cage. David had purchased a burn cage, an incinerator, and it was at the house.
So that incinerator wasn't at the house before.
Well, we found it at the house, but I mean, why do you have an incinerator and a chainsaw? Like you don't need it at this house, and it comes with all the yard people and stuff like that. You don't do any of your own maintenance, right? But why do you have an incinerator and a chainsaw? There's evidence, that was left behind, like a SD card from a camera, photos of him and Celeste together, and so this is all stuff we passed on to. And listen, I've met with the DA's office. There's been grand juries. I think that those transcripts they said yesterday will be released soon, and I so I think more of my statements will.
Actually, I'm so happy you brought up the grand jury. I don't know because I've obviously done grand juries, so I don't know how much you can reveal, but why didn't this get just regularly in like? Because from what you're saying, I mean, from just online, you see this totality of evidence to where it's obvious that there's enough evidence to say that a crime probably occurred and David was a part of it. So why wasn't he officially indicted like by a grand jury?
I don't know. I don't listen. They came out saying that they were in lockstep with LAPD, and anybody saying different isn't correct. I don't think they were. They went to great lengths to keep all the evidence completely secretive. They got the medical examiner's reports sealed, and even in the medical examiner even came out with a statement where they thought that was not right to do. They thought that her family deserved to have answers of what happened to their daughter. They didn't like doing it. There was grand jury. I've had to be somewhat quiet about that. Although as witnesses don't have to be, they're not kept to any secrecy. It's only the grand jurors themselves. And then I was threatened, with contempt. But I don't have a problem saying here because I know they're going to be unsealed. I did testify twice in front of the grand jury, and I don't know why they didn't indict. I don't think I. My personal thought is that LAPD probably was sick of the public giving them a hard. I wonder if part of it is that they were sick of being asked, "Is this a blown investigation?" And they just said, "We're gonna go ahead and arrest him, and the DA can either pick up charges or not pick up charges." And maybe that's what it came down to. And if it did come down to that, then I commend my client for because they were like, "We're gonna, you know what? This started as us needing answers. What happened in our house, but we're gonna turn it into making sure that Celeste gets justice and nothing gets left behind. No evidence." Nothing's going to get swept under the rug, and we're going to hold their feet to the fire. And if they're not going to charge them, then we're going to go on this worldwide damn campaign, and we'll show the evidence ourselves if we have to. And we were starting to get more vocal, and I'm not saying that that's why this happened, but I think that there was a lot of people that were in that situation. Like, listen, we've waited long enough. This girl needs justice. It shouldn't take 7 months to figure out what happened to a girl that was found in the front of a Tesla that was registered to David, that was in a wealthy neighborhood with tons of cameras and lots of people around all the time. And what's taking so long? And finally, I think it hit a boiling point. And I don't think that this was planned. Because of the way they went, everything is going to be unsealed. Even they said yesterday the search warrants are all going to be unsealed. They probably are today. I'm going to go to the courthouse and see if any of them are unsealed yet as soon as we're done. And so I don't know. I think there was a disconnect between the DA's office and LAPD, and I think LAPD arrested them, and I'm glad they did. I don't think it should have taken this long, but
You shouldn't have to bully a prosecutor into doing their job.
right, right. I mean, listen, I understand that investigations take time. This is what I do for a living. I get it. However, this is not like we found a skeletal frame out in the middle of the desert, and we have nothing to go from. This is, like I said, she was found in a car registered to David, and she was known to be in a relationship with David. That's a pretty big starting point, right? And this is a guy who self-admittedly grew up on the internet and documented everything. And we've said that from the beginning. We're like, I guarantee he documented everything. It's all, and then we find out he's his. They said yesterday in court that his iCloud account alone, his iCloud account, they would need a 10 terabyte drive to copy just to his iCloud account. That's none of the other stuff. So everything's in there, 10 terabytes. So shouldn't have taken this long. I'm glad that justice for Celeste is happening, and it would. I truly do not think it would have happened if the public didn't stay engaged in this case and they weren't so vocal. I think that it very well could have gotten swept under the rug, but because everybody was like, we want to know what happened and nobody forgot about it, which I think was easy to do during like the Nancy Guthrie case and some other cases where everybody got sidetracked, but people stayed on this case and were loud online and stuff, and that kept their feet to the fire at the DA's office and LAPD, and I hope everybody's proud of themselves, because I think that the reason charges came are because of the public,
No, and I think you should be proud of yourself too, man. Just a huge big up to the house owners, because they could have just tried to sweep this under the rug, so they weren't. Because I mean, they weren't involved with it either way. But the fact that they went above and beyond to get you on this, the links that you went through on this case. So guys, this is his Twitter right here. Make sure you guys go follow him, because on his Twitter he's gonna just be giving updates all the time. He's following this case. It's gonna be SF underscore investigates. 33 missing persons found since 2023. So huge shout out to you. And one last question. A big misconception is two things where they'll say, like, there's this other Celeste. Like, that's a lot of people like to throw out. Is there even another Celeste, or is that something that they like to just throw out? And also, did Celeste have a tattoo of David on one of her fingers?
Yes, she did, and that finger's gone.
So
And
the
she also
tattoo
had
with the tattoo was still on her body, but the
that was
David
still
tattoo.
there, but the ring finger, the other finger on the other hand were gone, and that's the one that has the David, and also she had a ring from him, and well, there's a little bit more information on that I can't give out yet, but if we talk again in like another week or 10 days, I think I can give out some information on that. But that's gone. And I'm sorry, what was the first part of the question?
And the other part was about the other Celeste. A lot of people like to use
Yeah.
her as a scapegoat. Like, no, like the live stream. A lot of people are like, no, that's not her. That's the other Celeste. That's the of age Celeste.
So there is another Celeste that was not super close. She was really close with Asia, or who's one of the people that was like always around. So that was just a coincidence. There was another Celeste. It wasn't a decoy or anything like that. And so yes, there was an adult Celeste. It's not, but that 100% is her in the live stream, and the delete everything. Live stream. That's her. That's Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the minor, and she. I think that's very calculated. One thing I've heard about what was happening at the end was she had lost all respect for David. She knew, she figured out, like, she'd now been isolated, taken away from her school, from her family. She was being isolated and just used as an object when it was convenient for him. And she had lost respect for him. And when she came out and said, "Oh, like child rape on that," that was Celeste. Celeste was smart. And she knew, and that was her calling him out. I don't think that was by accident.
No, I mean that I think would be a huge. Did she say her age in there? Because every time I hear it, it sounds like it's muted. I'm guessing people did that. What was the exact words that she said on that live stream?
She said, well, the word she said, like child rape. She brought up child rape to him, and then he goes, whoa, 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 and he talks about, oh, I media trained you, and but she brings up child rape, and she says those exact words, and that's when everybody in the chat starts talking about like Epstein Island and stuff, and then he wants to get deleted. And then, although he made it seem like kind of a joke, I mean, he actually called the mods after that, after they ended that, and told them delete that.
If you look on my stream, I'm gonna play
That's
it for
it.
everybody.
Media
I
train.
personally don't.
Yo, I media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of raping kids.
Raping kids, not child rape, raping kids. Yeah, that's controversial. Raping kids.
And this is
yeah.
Really good.
Okay,
It's
bye.
been a
That's
good
us.
one. Bye.
Bye,
That's
guys.
leave us
Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh my! Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes. Everything goes. Everything.
And he called his mods right after that, and make sure that it got deleted.
Wow. You wouldn't need to delete that unless it was true. It's one thing someone saying something controversial on stream, and then it's like, all right, we're gonna end stream, but it's a whole nother. Like I mean, I'm in the stream reverse. And when you say mods, delete that. That is something you don't want out. It's one thing just to end it, but it's another thing to say, hey, make sure no one. So it's a blessing that was actually clipped. And thank you for giving us clarification. And Mr. Steve, I would genuinely love to talk with you again. Genuinely, so like I say, let's just maybe give it a week, so we can see what more things come out in court, and so that way you can speak, because I feel like you have a lot more that you want to say, but the most important thing is that this case goes forward and nothing comes out that can get you in trouble or jeopardize the case, because we don't want to give this weasel David any wiggle room at all. And also, you were saying earlier that you don't think that the LAPD are going to be pressing charges with the minor that you're in contact with. Don't say where she is, but is she out of the state of California?
Yes.
So,
but she was. I mean, just recently. This all happened in California, and she's willing. She's willing. Like, if prosecutors want to charge us, she's a willing participant. So, and this is something that we passed along in the last day or so to reiterate that she's willing to be a witness.
Is she the minor that just came out recently? I don't know if you saw. There was like some Instagram DMs that were just put out. Was that her?
I don't know exactly which one. Listen, I'm in touch with two of them, so I'm sure it's one of them. I'm not sure which ones I'm in touch with more than one minor besides Celeste. So there's multiple,
Guys, make sure you guys go follow him.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Peace. I learned so much information that I did not know. The fact that the email, I think, is the craziest thing. And this is stuff that he could tell us. I think as this case goes on, he'll be able to reveal more information.